Bell's Iceman Cometh Challenge. 5,000 riders are here to overcome one of the world's toughest mountain bike races, a grueling 30-mile race through the forests of northern Michigan.
I cannot feel speak. Punches underwater. Anything but you.
Welcome everyone to Traverse City, Michigan for the Bell's Iceman Cometh Challenge. Hello, I'm Frankie Andre, and I'm standing here with two-time Olympian and bronze medalist at the Olympics in mountain biking, Georgia Golden. Georgia, we're standing here in a little slice of heaven, which is the finish at Timber Ridge, but the riders are going to have to go through a little bit of something else to be able to get to the finish line.
That's right. The race starts in Kalkaska, Michigan. Then it's about 30 miles overland back to the finish. In between, the riders will encounter everything from flat-out straights to technical single track. And the payoff? A hot fire and a cold Bell's beer at Timber Ridge.
It's going to be fun to watch. And we mentioned there's over 5,000 riders. And so in order for Iceman to get all those riders out on course, they actually start in waves of 100 riders. They go off in 3-minute intervals, and the first wave went off at 9 a.m. 48 waves later, 2.5 hours to be able to get all the riders out on course.
Yeah, and that's just the amateur riders. This afternoon, all eyes will be focused on the pro race, where there's 73 elite men and 16 elite women lining up at 2:30 for a chance to win part of the $61,000 prize purse and, of course, the chance to drink out of the ice cup.
The Iceman Trophy, that's what it's all about. Let's go down to Sarah Dimmerly at the start in Kalkaska for the start of the pro women and pro men.
Thanks, guys. We have some of the best riders in the world getting ready to do battle. In the men's race, we're looking at Jeff Kabush, 15-time Canadian national champion, looking to defend his 2017 title. We're also looking at Payson McElveen out of Durango, Colorado. He finished 6th in 2017, but first in the Chequamegon Fat Tire race in 2018. And last but not least, Brian Motter, who's participating in his 25th Bell's Iceman Cometh Challenge. He's hungry for more, and Brian holds the record at 4 wins here. It's just as competitive in the women's race. Chloe Woodruff, she's won this race 2 times. She wasn't on the podium last year, but she has her sights set on that top step again. Caitlin Patterson finished 2nd in 2016, 3rd in 2017. She's looking to claim first this year here at the Bell's Iceman Cometh Challenge. And let's not forget Amy Beisel. Amy has been hovering near the top step for quite a while, and she's hungry for more.
Thank you very much, Sarah. As you can see, a lot of great riders, former Olympians and former Iceman Challenge winners on the start line right now as they're into the final countdown, and they are getting ready to take off. Jeff Kabush on the far left-hand side, a 2-time winner, and right now it's a very aggressive start. Georgia, how important is it, those first few pedal strokes, trying to get to the front so you can get to the trail in the lead?
Well, you can see there's a lot of guys starting this race, and everyone wants to get up there to get to the front of the race because pretty quickly here it's going to get into single track. So you really want to make sure and let those first few pedal strokes count so that you can be up at the front of the field.
Even though it's a 30-mile race, a lot of the riders warming up before to be able to handle this kind of start. As we can see these riders jostling for position, fighting, trying to find a path to be able to get onto the dirt track, which is going right here. Now we can see the rider view off of Jeff Kabush's camera looking towards the front as we see Troy Wells right there in 3rd position. The hammer going down immediately. Even though it's a 30-mile race, they're starting off fast and furious.
Well, you can see there's really kind of one line, and while it looks like you could sort of pass here, you're not really sure what's going to be off in that tall grass. So you can see those guys staying on those 2 lines, and if you're stuck in the back, anything could happen back there.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Bell's Iceman Cometh Challenge on CBS Sports Network, as 81 riders are fighting for position to try to get to the finish in Traverse City, Michigan. The start at Kalkaska, and as they have taken off, they are now making their way up towards Smith Lake Road, and the fall foliage is out. It's a beautiful scenic scenery here, but for the riders, it's a battle for position, Georgia.
Yeah, you can see as they come out onto this dirt road, these spots where the course opens up, they're really the only places you can really pass, but at the same time, you can see none of these guys want to sit on the front and, tow everyone around.
Well, sometimes they're on these wide roads, these kind of dirt roads, and then when they turn in, we saw Troy Wells leading there, and then we saw it was Cole House, a rider, a former professional road rider, does gravel rides, does dirt rides, mountain biking, a little bit of everything coming into that position second, and that's a great view right there of Cole House, looking very comfortable. Of course, hydrating very important throughout this race. But how important is the drafting? I mean, the average speed for a lot of these riders can be about 25 miles an hour competing on the Iceman Cometh. So this fight for position, sitting in a line, being with other riders, how does that play out, Georgia?
Oh, it's hugely important in conditions like this when it's dry, when it's fast. There's not really much elevation gain. There's not really much sustained climbing in this race. So a lot of advantage to be had by saving a little bit of energy sitting behind someone else.
Well, right now, it looks like the rider from Cliff Bar, Troy Wells, continuing to stay on the front to kind of keep the pressure. And as long as they can keep that pace, it gradually will be a dwindling of the not-so-fit riders or the weaker riders. Now, we've seen a lot of road riders that come in and participate in Iceman, but generally it tends to be somebody with a mountain biking specific background that really makes the difference right now. And you can see that kind of fighting for position. A great view, Brian Motter, taking a view off the back of his saddle, a 4-time winner of Iceman. So if you're talking about experience, Motter has it. And Georgia, talk a little bit about that bike that we see on the left-hand side with Jeff Kabush. It's drop handlebars instead of the straight handlebars normally we see on a mountain bike.
Yeah, you can see that. He's definitely trying something new today. He's got those drop handlebars. He's got a rigid fork, but a little bit wider tires than you'd see on, say, a cyclocross bike. So sort of a hybrid he's got going here, and we'll see, how that works out for him today.
Yeah, a little bit of a risk, obviously, not going with the mountain bike setup that everybody else has, kind of going with a gravel bike. It's a kind of a road bike with more clearance, the disc brakes, and as you mentioned, fatter tires. We can see a lot of riders right now kind of fighting for position. Cole House looking very comfortable. Troy Wells is in there. Russell Finsterwald, the young rider, doing a good ride, staying near the front. And so right now, a lot of the riders trying to be able to pick their own path. There was 5,000 riders that went off before the Pro Min. They packed down a lot of the parts of the trail along the way towards the finish in Traverse City. But right now, 2 members from Team Cliff Bar are on the front, Troy Wells and Russell Finsterwald. Look at this view of Jeff Kabush. No one's in front of him, and we had a chance to catch up with him about his love of the Iceman.
I grew up on the west coast of Vancouver Island, and just a lucky place to live up, mountain biking, really incredible trails available there, and just kind of grew from there. Started doing some of the national events and had some success, and carried on 25 years later. Bell's Iceman Cometh. It's just really an amazing event. How many people it draws. It's always a little fun with the weather. You never know what you're going to get. And I think the thing I enjoy about it, and one of the challenges as well, is the tactics here. It's a little bit of a different format than the typical mountain bike race, and it's kind of fast, group racing, and going to be running a little bit of a different bike than everyone this year, just to kind of throw a wrench. Run a drop bar here, which is different tactically to see how it sorts out. It's hard to get away in this race, so you have to be efficient and use your head a lot to kind of figure out the competition and figure out how to finish in the front.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Bell's Iceman Cometh Challenge, the mountain bike race, here on CBS Sports Network. As you can see, the riders making their way through the northern parts of Michigan as they're heading towards the Dockery Road, starting in Kalkaska, Michigan, and a big change from what we saw earlier on in this race, where it was wide fire roads, wide dirt roads. Georgia, now we are on single track, and this gets a little bit more complicated for the riders.
Absolutely. There's definitely a lot of short sections of single track where bike handling is really going to make a difference.
We talk about the bike handling making a difference. We go into our first split at Dockery for our Pro Min. Troy Wells, along with Payson McElvain, Cole House is up there, Tristan Uhl, and Russell Finsterwald. So pretty much it's a large group, about 15 riders that remain in the front. How do you end up passing? How can you pass anybody on a section like this?
Well, you've got to be really smart, and you've got to just see the spot and go for it, because as you can see from this rider view that we've got, the speed is so high out there. So, and the trees are pretty tight, so you want to make sure that you're in a good position before you get into these sections, if possible.
Well, just there we saw a nice shot of Payson McElvain in that black jersey, keeping up with everybody else right now as we go up towards our Cliff Bar riders in the blue and red. Russell Finsterwald doing a great ride. You can see Troy Wells in the front right there, keeping it. Peter DeSera in the red and the white jersey, right in the middle, but now it's a select group, right? We were at about 20, 30 riders, 80 riders started. We're down to only 7, so you talk about those tactics that start to play a little bit more into the race as we see a nice shot here of full house following the leaders. Very, very technical, very windy and twisty. The leads just look extremely slippery, so very important that these guys are able to pick the right path.
Right, and as we get closer and closer to the finish, this group continues to sort of pare down, and that's why you see these riders jockeying for position every time the trail opens up.
Right now in this first group, it looks like it's Alexi Vermeulen, Jeff Kabush, Peter DeSella, Tristan Uhl, Payson McElvain, and Russell Finsterwald. These guys have separated themselves, and so they have a little bit of a gap, so that actually plays in. And that's the hardest part of doing a race like that, is trying to get that gap, because once you can establish that gap, you're able to stay away. But the Traverse City race, the Bell's Iceman Cometh Challenge, isn't just about the professional riders racing it. It's also about inviting all the amateurs to come out to experience something that maybe they've never done before through the northern forests of Michigan. Well, for many of the riders, they not only arrived the day of the race, a couple days before the race to be able to preview it, as right now, coming up on that halfway point, going up towards Williamsburg, and you can see right now looking at Jeff Kabush, but he's trying to be able to catch Peter DeSera in the front right now.
Yeah, and you can see they're passing through the feed zone, which is the one opportunity that these pro racers have to get a fresh bottle of water or of drink mix. Really important to stay hydrated out there, even on a cool day like today.
Yeah, it is a little bit cool out there, and that's the only paved road in 30 miles as they cover sections of the famous Vasa Trail, the cross-country ski trail. That's the only paved road, the Williamsburg Road, that the race crosses over as we go right back here to our Cliff Bar riders. We saw in the front, Peter DeSera decided to strike out and trying to get a bit of a gap, and I talked a little bit earlier how important it is to be able to get that gap, because once you establish a 30-second gap, it's very hard for the riders in back to be able to close that down, but you can see still a large group fighting for that win.
Right, no one wants to let anyone get away, and you only want to do just as much work as you need to stay on that wheel. But really what's most important is who crosses that finish line first, and that's why you see all of this tactical jockeying, because you see Jeff Kabush there looking over his shoulder. No one wants to be doing all the work and towing this whole big group around.
Yeah, and if you're a two-time winner, they might sit on you and try to be able to make you do all the work, which might be forcing Kabush's hand right there. Peter DeSera going up the road right now just in front of everybody. The Canadian mountain bike national champion striking out early as DeSera leads in front of Kabush and Motter. And Brian Motter is a 4-time winner of this race, and it's his passion that continues for his love of mountain biking.
I got my start mountain biking in southeast Michigan on the Potawatomi Trail, and just started with my dad and I out on some clunker mountain bikes, having fun in the woods, and it just kind of blossomed from there. I distinctly remember Dad and I going down the first downhill, and I'm barely holding onto the handlebars, both feet off the pedals. I crash. Dad follows me. Dad crashes into a mud puddle with a snapping turtle about this big next to his head. And from that moment, we were hooked on mountain biking. My proudest moment is actually probably winning Iceman 4 times. It's a race that I've been doing since 1993, so I did my first Iceman at about 15 years old. The atmosphere of Iceman is really like no other race. The energy that you feel when you come into that finishing circuit, that's like the moment that I live for in this race. Without a doubt, my greatest strength for this race is my experience. I kind of consider myself a little bit of an underdog here. Some of these guys who I race against perform a little bit better and probably have a little more fitness than I do, but I might be a touch smarter if possible.
Welcome back as we see a beautiful shot of Traverse City, Michigan, and the beautiful vineyards and wineries that are located all over this region, and cutting right through the middle is our Iceman Cometh Challenge. The 30-mile mountain bike races, we're heading up to Ice Station Zebra as we go back to our minute. We're looking off the view of Jeff Kabush. So Kabush's camera looking at Alexi Vermeulen, the young 24-year-old, and this is the veteran against the youngster, the 41-year-old Jeff Kabush against the 24-year-old Alexi Vermeulen. Very different riders here As we can see the time splits right here. Alexei Vermeulen, a road rider. Jeff Kabush, a mountain bike rider. How does that play into what's going to happen coming up towards the final here?
Well, obviously, two really strong riders, and you can see they're really working together because it benefits both of them if they can put as much time between them and the group behind as possible.
Yeah, again, two strong riders. They're going to get that gap. They're going to work very well together to see Kabush. Now, the difference also, Kabush going for that road position. We've talked about average speeds of the Iceman Cometh Challenge being about 25 miles an hour. So if you can be aerodynamic and have a little bit quicker, lighter bike, this is exactly what Jeff Kabush has decided to do. No suspension at all, while Alexei Vermeulen has a traditional mountain bike. But the skill set of being a mountain biker may come a little bit handy for Kabush a little bit later on. The road rider, Alexei Vermeulen, just kind of following the wheel. I think he's content to sit back and let Kabush do all the work right now.
Yeah, I mean, and definitely Jeff Kabush is a good wheel to follow in any of these technical single track sections, even if he is on a rigid bike.
Well, you can see how cold it is, too, with Kabush wearing the shoe covers, the leg warmers, and the speed that he is going. He's finding the line that he wants to take. I mean, out of the saddle, big power coming out of Jeff Kabush. It doesn't look like anything slowing him down. The three-time Canadian Olympian right now, a two-time winner of Iceman. He's hoping to be able to make it a third, but he's going to have to get rid of the young rider, Alexei Vermeulen, that is following his wheel. And again, sitting in that draft, Georgia, how much energy can Alexei save by sitting on Jeff Kabush?
Oh, it's definitely significant. And you can see here they're actually trading off spending time at the front because they both know, again, that it benefits.
Welcome back to CBS Sports Network as we're getting into the final of the Bell's Iceman Cometh Challenge. Two riders had separated themselves, and they have been pacing each other towards the finish. Alexei Vermeulen and Jeff Kabush. But who is going to win out, the road rider or the mountain bike rider? It is tough to tell at this point, and both of them are equally strong.
Here it is.
The drop road bars of Jeff Kabush. So Kabush has separated himself from Alexei Vermeulen. So Jeff Kabush, the 41-year-old, as that's Alexei Vermeulen flying by, trying to be able to make it back. The young 24-year-old, coming from a road background, Alexei Vermeulen, extremely strong. Little glance underneath his shoulder, trying to be able to look as Kabush right now, your 2017 winner, your defending champion. What is that? Only about a 4-second lead. Georgia Gold, you know how close and tenuous these final sections can be.
It is so hard to pass in these last few turns. It is incredibly fast and just nearly impossible to get around, and I think Jeff knows that, and that's why he made his move where he did, and I think we're going to see him hold on for the win.
That's one of those tricky corners that we have seen. Alexei Vermeulen, the young 24-year-old, trying to be able to bring it back. Jeff Kabush racing for Yeti Cycles Maxis, the Canadian and three-time Olympian on the front. Then we have our chase group, what we have talked about, with the Sarah, McLeaven, all trying to be able to bring it back. Another glance over the shoulder right now. He knows he has a little bit of a gap. It's about not making a mistake. The 15-time national champion, your 2017 defending champion right here at Iceman, holding off the young Alexei Vermeulen as he charges towards the finish. As we talked about them coming in and then heading back out. And this is the beautiful section right before they come into Timber Ridge. Now look at that different design. Not using the traditional flat handlebars as a mountain bike, but putting on a road setup system. He's got the fat tires, but all about speed on this course today, Georgia Gold.
Absolutely, and look how smooth he is. I mean, he has no suspension. He's got drop handlebars, and you wouldn't even know. And he makes it just look effortless. One more glance over his shoulder.
Yeah, one thing to notice is when they came in, that time gap was only maybe 3 seconds, right? Now it's up to about 5 or 6 seconds. So in just a few hundred meters, in less than a kilometer, Kabush has managed to be able to take out about 3 or 4 seconds. Going up the final climb, it looks like it's posing no problem. The legs looking fresh as Kabush goes over the top, trying to defend his title from last year, the 2007. Looking for Vermeulen, man, he has not given up.
That's true, but you never know until the finish, and Vermeulen knows that, so you got to just keep chasing as hard as you can until you get there.
Last year, Jeff Kabush second at the Canadian National Cyclocross Championships. He's been a two-time Iceman champion in 2013 and the defending champion. Getting ready to come into the final turn. A wave and high fives at Jeff Kabush, the Canadian, repeating as champion for your 2018 Iceman champion. What a perfect race by him. No doubt, as Alexei Vermeulen challenged him all the way to the line, Kabush is waiting for him to congratulate this young 24-year-old on what a great ride. But unbelievable back-to-back years as we see a big hug between the two riders as we go down to Sarah Dimmerly to have a quick interview and a few words with our race winner, Jeff Kabush.
Hey, Jeff, congratulations to you. How did you feel out there today?
This is what I look forward to every year. Such a great event and a nice way to finish off the year. And we got lucky at Iceman this year. Perfect conditions. Fun to run the drop bar bike for the first time. And super psyched to take the win.
Well, what made you choose to ride the drops versus a standard mountain bike?
I just like to have some fun. You know, I've wanted to do this for a while on my open bike, and the conditions were perfect today, so I thought it'd be a good chance to give it a go.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and big congrats to you.
Well, he looks forward to it every year, and he repeats as a three-time winner. So congratulations to Jeff Kabush. Just behind him in that chase group is Brian Matter, a four-time winner of Iceman, doing a great job to put himself onto the podium with third. It was Dicer in fourth, Sontag in fifth, and Finsterwald doing a good job. The 28-year-old out of Utah from Colorado Springs doing a great job to be able to put him in the top five. Sarah's caught up with the young Alex Vermeulen, second place on the day.
Hey, Alexi, you were looking really good out there today. How did you feel?
I felt good. I think it was hard to judge how strong Jeff was with the bike, and I knew coming into the final climbs, once we made our move, that getting over those climbs before him was going to be difficult, and that was kind of the only way I knew I could beat him when we got in here. And yeah, definitely a little bit disappointed, but I'm really happy. Put in a lot of work, and I knew where I was going to go the last month and a half, and it's kind of nice to just put the plan into motion.
Well, congratulations to you on your podium, and we'll see you over there.
Thanks, Sarah.
Very calculating as Jeff Kabush repeats as the winner. We're going to go down to our course reporter, Sarah Dimmerly, as she's caught up with our third place, Brian Matter.
And I'm standing here with Brian Matter. Brian, what were you thinking out there today?
Man, that was the biggest, fastest group I've ever been in at Iceman.
How do you feel about your finish?
I mean, I'm definitely happy to be on the podium. I was in a little move with Peter and Payson off the front for a while, and we got caught, and Alexei and Kabush countered that. So unfortunately, I missed that move, but happy to beat the group at the end and make it on the podium.
Well, congratulations to you.
Awesome, thank you.
Brian Matter, I've got your 25-year Iceman jersey right here for you.
A lot of emotion coming from Steve Brown, the promoter and organizer of the Iceman Cometh Challenge. It's incredible. Brian Matter still on the podium after 25 years of racing. But if we take a look at the results for our pro men, we will see the number one rider on the day, Jeff Kabush. Congratulations to him. Second, Alexei Vermeulen. Third was Brian Matter from Team Wisconsin, the Norco Factory team. Fourth was Peter DeSera, and fifth, Vin Sontag for Team Cliff Bar. Coming up in a little bit, we're going to see our women coming back. Our pro men won solo. What will happen with our pro women as they come into Timber Ridge for the finish of the Bell's Iceman Cometh Challenge? What an incredible race, and what a way to close out the cycling season in grand style with the Bell's Iceman Cometh Challenge. For Georgia Gold, Sarah Dimmerly, and our entire crew, I'm Frankie Andreu. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports.